Yo, what's up, guys? It's Topics here, and I wanted to make a video going over the um, general talent setup for Mountain Thane Prot Warrior in The War Within Season 3. And I also wanted to show a priority list for you guys in Mythic Plus situations, and then do a little demonstration on these target dummies. So let's get into the talent build. This is the main talent build that most production warriors are playing. We can just start with the class side of things. Um, you're almost never going to switch off of this. This is going to be pretty locked in with not very many choices. A couple things to note that you may see that are different, or that we're not taking a rallying cry. This is just way too weak. It's unfortunate this is the case because this is supposed to be like a class fantasy staple ability of warrior. It's been around for a long time, but 10% health is just kind of a joke. It's no DR, it's not an absorb shield. It's literally just 10% HP, which does almost nothing against anything. Um, so it's a 3-minute cooldown. It's just not worth the talent point. You'd rather put the talents somewhere else. So that is difference. Another difference is down here. You're actually taking Unstoppable Force this season instead of a movable object. Um, and the reason why is because when you're playing Mountain Thane, you want this because Avatar is going to increase the damage of Thunderclap by 50%. And that also means Thunder Blast too. So Thunder Blast being one of your main procced abilities playing Mountain Thane, you want to increase the damage of that as much as possible because it's going to be like first or second on your overall damage list. So we're playing Unstoppable Force. Those are the main two changes on this side. Um, I would say that you can actually play Intervene, which is actually really good on Arakar. Like at the end, when you get the slow debuff from those mobs, you can obviously leap out of them and the healer can dispel you, but there might be like an emergency situation where the healer dies and can't dispel you and your leap's also on cooldown. It'd be nice to have Intervene because then you can just intervene to a teammate to get out of the webs on the ground before they explode. So I think you probably want to play Intervene on high keys and Arakara just to be safe. But other than that, there's not really any choices here. Any other choices? Dropping this leap movement ability is actually pretty bad because this is a big cooldown reduction. It also gives you movement speed after, and warriors are typically not the fastest or most mobile class. Also, taking this reduced shockwave cooldown off is also pretty bad because one of the great things that we bring to M Plus is a really short shockwave CD because it's an AoE stop. So what I would actually do is just drop your single target stop for intervene like this if you're gonna play it. Because you already have a short cooldown AoE stop, you already have disrupting shout, which is an AoE kick silence. Um, so it's fine for you to drop your single target stun if you need to play intervene in Arakara. So that's what I would drop if you need to take it. So that's the class side. Let's talk about the spec side. This side changed even more, especially since we're playing Thane. So the first thing you might notice is this capstone. We're not playing Ravager anymore. It's just simply not worth it. It doesn't actually do that much overall damage for you. You'd be better off putting points into these other things that are going to give you more baseline damage and tankiness. Another thing you might notice is we're playing Execute build. And the reason why is because you'll see by this talent heavy-handed, Execute hits up to 2 additional targets for 70% damage. So now your Execute cleaves, which is insane. And then also with Sudden Death, um, your Execute has a chance to proc when you're basically fighting. Like any attack you use has a chance to make your next Execute cost no rage and usable on any target regardless of their health. So you're going to be getting a lot of Execute procs this season, which is extremely fun now that it's cleaving. This thing just hits so hard. And this is one of the main reasons that Prot Warriors is probably the highest damage tank, if not tied or close with Brewmaster, is because of Execute cleaving and you playing the Execute proc talent here. Um, let's see if there's anything else to talk about here that's like majorly different, or anything that you might change here. I don't think you'll change any of those. Yeah, I don't really think. I think that's probably all there is to talk about on the side, actually. None of these other talents. If you're playing single target, like in raid, you might want to take this, or maybe if you want more single target damage in a dungeon, you might be able to drop this, or not drop this, but take this. You could probably drop like Blood Surge, which is just like a little bit extra rage, and get more execute damage. But yeah, there's probably not much else you'd really do here. Now, lastly, let's get into the hero talent tree and talk a little bit about how it works. I'm mainly going to talk about the core of this hero talent tree. Um, so lightning strikes are like a passive damage that happens when you are basically just fighting. So thunderclapping, revenging, or executing, which are like your three main offensive abilities, have a chance to call a lightning strike down. And if you see at the bottom there, it says lightning strikes occur 30% more often during Avatar. Um, doesn't really change the way you play because you're already thunderclapping and executing anyway, so that's not going to change once you're in Avatar. If you go to the capstone here, it says casting Avatar grants you 2 charges of Thunder Blast. Um, and when Avatar is not active, Lightning Strikes has a 10% chance to grant you Avatar. So I think the reason they did this is because you're getting a lot of Lightning Strikes inside of Avatar. So they wanted to make sure that you're kind of getting some type of consolation prize outside of Avatar, which is the fact that you can proc Avatar when you're outside of it. So just wanted to kind of talk about how like the lightning strikes hero talent works playing Mountain Thane. I don't think there's really too much else to talk about here. Yeah, I think everything else here is pretty much just pretty passive. Why are you taking this? Even though you can't use it, like this only works if you have Intervene, which we're probably only going to play in Arakara. It's because this is going to increase the cooldown of Stormbolt, which is stupid. It's causing it to like hit 2 additional targets. The only problem with this is not only can you not choose which 2 targets it hits, it's random, but it's going to increase the cooldown. So it'd be much better if we just had like a decreased single target stun. So we're ignoring this and we're just taking this one, even though it's going to be red and unusable. Kind of weird. They probably need to change this, but anyway, with the talents out of the way, let's hop into the opener in Mythic Plus situations. Again, this is just like a Mythic Plus little guide I'm doing here. So let's talk about the opener priority list, and then I'll do a little demo. So to start off, the first thing you want to do is potentially press Shield Wall. Protection Warrior is really weak when they first start pulls because you don't have any rage. You likely do not have any mitigation up, especially if you had like a little bit of a walk to the next pack, or maybe there was some type of RP. Protection Warrior is one of the classes that you actually can't have any of your active mitigation up if you're out of combat. So for that reason alone, you want to try and stay in combat as much as possible as Protection Warrior so that your mitigation doesn't drop. That being said, depending on if it's a dangerous pull or if you don't have mitigation up, you may want to think about pressing Shield Wall, but that's situational. I just had to mention it. The first thing you're going to do then is charge to your mob, which is going to generate 20 rage. And then you're going to want to Thunderclap, which is going to generate some more rage, because Thunderclap is going to put Rend on all of your targets, which is one of your bleeds. Another one of your bleeds is Deep Wounds, but that's just going to passively go on them as you're doing your rotation. So it's going to be potentially Shield Wall, charge in, Thunderclap to get Rend going, and then you're going to press Avatar so that you get a Thunder Blast proc immediately, and you're going to Thunder Blast. And at that point, you should have enough rage to get shield block up. You're going to want to get that up because it's your main mitigation. And at that point, you know, if you press shield wall, it's probably about dropping anyway. And then after you press shield block, you're going to want to demo shout the enemies. And the reason for that is demo shout, not only, if you read the tooltip, does it decrease damage they deal to you by 25%, so it makes you more tanky, but this booming voice talent also causes demo shout for the mobs to take more damage from you. So you're going to do 20% increased damage to the mobs hit by demo shout. So the reason you want to get that out so early in the opener is because you want the mobs taking increased damage from you while you're inside of Avatar because you just pressed it, and before you use your other 2 cooldowns, which is Shield Charge and Thunderous Roar. And those are going to be the next 2 things that you press, which is Shield Charge and Thunderous Roar, which is going to do a lot of damage because you're inside of Avatar and you just demo shouted the mobs. That is your opener. Now, let's move on to the priority list. So your top 2 priorities after you've done your opener are to keep 100% uptime on shield block. This is your main mitigation. You never want to drop this. It's going to allow you to block all melee attacks against you. And it's also going to increase the shield slam damage you do to enemies while this is up. So you just want this up all the time. The second priority is to keep I try and aim for like a 50 to 70% ignore pain shield up on you at all times. Um, Obviously that's higher, that's harder the higher key you go, but you almost always want some type of ignore pain on you. Unless you're fighting something that barely does any damage to you, you might be fine with just shield block. But that's kind of like your second active mitigation is keeping your ignore pain up. All right, so let's get into the actual offensive abilities now that we've talked about those two mitigations. So your number one priority, this goes for basically any situation. This is small AoE, large AoE, execute, non-execute, whether you're in cooldowns, not in cooldowns, no matter what, your number one priority is going to be pressing your Thunder Blast procs, okay? Not Thunderclap, but Thunder Blast procs. Now, this may seem counterintuitive because, as you know, execute does a ton of damage, and with our new talents here, execute cleaves, and you have a chance to proc it whenever. So you might say to yourself, well, reading the tooltip, execute seems like it's going to do way more damage than even a Thunder Blast proc would do, because Thunder Blast proc is kind of like double the damage of a Thunderclap. So, you know, this says 188, so Thunder Blast would do like 360 or something, to up to 5 targets, which is still only like 1.5 mil. But yet this execute says 1.9 mil plus it's cleaving. So it's going to cleave for 70% damage on the other two targets. So it's going to do like 1.9 to the main and 1.3 to the targets it's cleaving on. So at a glance, it may seem like execute should be your highest priority. However, I'm on live, so I don't have a tier set. I don't have like the Season 3 tier set yet, but the way the Season 3 tier set works is it's ionizing strikes, and what that is every time you press Thunder Blast, you have a 35% chance to call down an ionizing strike on your target. Now, if you're fighting 5 targets, it actually works individually, so you have a 35% chance on each target you're fighting to call down an ionizing strike. So if you have 5 targets, chances are 1 or 2 of them is going to get hit by an ionizing strike, and that's good enough, because the 4 set, the way it works is every time an ionizing strike hits one of your targets, it buffs your next Thunder Blast by 100%. Okay? So, again, the 35% chance of an ionizing strike coming down from your tier set is per enemy. So if you're in a 5-target scenario, which you're basically always going to be in Mythic Plus, 1 or 2 of them is always going to get hit by an ionizing strike, which means your Thunder Blast is just going to be permanently buffed by 100%. So now, Thunder Blast is double Thunderclap, so like let's say this was procced right now into Thunder Blast, it'd be 360. Times that by 2, that's 720, and it's going to hit 5 targets. So now you're doing like 3.5 to 4 million overall damage, and you're going to be getting way more of these than executes. So that is why Thunder Blast is your number one priority at all times when it procs. I know that was a long explanation, but I just had to talk through it because it could be confusing, like the way it interacts with the tier set and like why it's more important to press and execute. Now, with that being said, pressing your execute procs is your next highest priority. So you should be tracking this with a weak aura, or making it easy on your action bars to see when this is procced. So yes, if you get an execute proc, that is your next priority at all times. Or if you're in execute range, that's also still just your second priority. You're gonna want to use your Thunder Blast procs first, and then execute would be next. Your third most important ability, and the next in the priority list, is your Shield Slam. This is a single target ability, so you should be shield slamming your priority target. But that is definitely next in the priority list. The very last is going to be Revenge, if you even have globals for it, because at this point, you're dumping Rage into keeping Shield Block up, you're dumping Rage into keeping, Ignore Pain up, and then you're spending Thunder Blast procs immediately, that's your number one priority. You're using Execute procs next, and then you're filling with Shield Slams on your priority target. You're probably not going to have too many globals left to weave in a Revenge, especially in high key large pulls when you have to dump a lot of Rage into your mitigation. But if you do have a global and your mitigation's fine, you can definitely press Revenge. Now, you're probably wondering, well, what about just a regular Thunderclap, like just a baseline normal Thunderclap? You basically never want to press this. Not only are you never going to have a global to use it, but it's your lowest overall damage, unless it's procced into Thunderblast, of course. But if it's just normal Thunderclap, the only time you ever want to press this is to refresh Rend, because Thunderclap puts Rend on your targets. If you remember in the opener, Thunderclapping your targets puts Rend on them, so the only time you press this is if your Rend's about to drop off, and that is it. You never press it other than that. So that is it for the priority list and rotation. It's fairly simple to understand actually for Prot Warriors. So to recap, Thunderblast procs first, Execute procs second, Shield Slam third. If you have time to weave in a Revenge, you can do that fourth, and then you only press Thunderclap to reset Rend on your target. So it's basically last priority unless you need to refresh Rend. You want to keep your bleeds going. But that's going to be it for this video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content and you look forward to more Protection Warrior content in the future. Peace out. Shout out to all of the Patreon members. It's because of your support that I'm able to continue making Protection Warrior and World of Warcraft content. Thank you.